Hey, good afternoon, y'all. This is Joshua Nagelberg, meteorologist with Carolina Weather Authority, and Mike and I have been back and forth all morning talking about Isaias with you guys on Facebook. I tried to go live, but Facebook has had some technical problems. It looks like probably for several months, and I'm not I'm not going to go into detail about that. If those of you who have Facebook pages probably feel our pain. But anyway, what we're going to try to do here with YouTube is get our subscriber list up to 1,000. And you can help us with that by subscribing here to our YouTube channel, and that way you'll actually get our latest video before we even get it up on Facebook. But that will allow us to also go live on YouTube and give you guys a stable platform to do that so that you're not waiting half an hour or an hour to get our information out there. And you can pitch in and ask live questions because we think that's going to be obviously the best way to broadcast what's going on. People on TV don't necessarily do that, but we can do it here with the technology of the year 2020. So anyway, Mike put out an article just a little while ago talking about our tropical system here, Hurricane Isaias, and the threat that it looks like it's going to pose to much of the Carolinas. In particular, the Grand Strand of South Carolina right up through eastern North Carolina, and especially the Outer Banks and coastline. We are now saying that I think you guys need to be taking action and preparing your life and property and being ready to potentially evacuate here if you're right on the coast. There is just overwhelming evidence that the system is going to be strengthening and over a spot where it's got a good shot at developing into more than just maybe a Category 1 hurricane. What I am going to say to you is that the National Hurricane Center has been predicting some strengthening by the time this system gets up into the central and northwest Bahamas. That's where I think the water is going to be at its warmest. However, I will tell you as somebody who's been in this field for, 15, 20 years now, that we have seen multiple instances of hurricanes intensifying rapidly that no model can accurately predict. And this could be a situation where that, in fact, does hold. Just give you a quick example. Yes, our models from Monday showed maybe in some cases a strong Category 2 or Category 3 hurricane, and a few of them have backed off, but they're still showing that potential from time to time, not consistently. But the storm didn't develop as quickly as we thought it might, but it did strengthen pretty quickly when it came into the Dominican Republic yesterday around this time, and then strengthened to a hurricane last night, and has kind of slowed that progress for the time being, but I do think could occur again. This is a look at our wide view of the Atlantic Ocean. This is the upper level low over Kansas City, Missouri, which this trough is going to be eventually causing our high pressure ridge north of the system to break down and allow a turn to the right. Here's a front with showers and storms offshore, which I don't think is really going to develop into anything. We've got a wave here, which some models show forming up in here into a weak tropical storm, not a threat to us. And then another disturbance up in here, which has a small chance of developing. It's not going to be a problem for us anytime soon. So really the only thing on the map to be concerned with is Isaias. And I'm not going to animate this from Tropical Tidbits. It's been a little bit too slow with everybody on there. But what we've seen is, earlier today the system kind of lost a little bit of its punch. And the reason why is that Haiti and Dominican Republic have mountains. And the air came in off of these mountains and actually dried out a little bit of the thunderstorm activity near the central dense overcast. But now that the system is moving north of Cuba and away from land and only aimed, looks like, at the smaller islands of the central Bahamas, we do believe it's got a good shot at redeveloping into a hurricane that is strengthening and picking up on these warm bathwaters up in here. There's a little bit of wind shear affecting it from the southwest, but it looks like Isaias is going to do its very best to overcome that. And I would not be surprised if we had a hurricane by tomorrow morning, which was Category 2, or even I'll stick my neck out there and say possibly even getting close to Category 3 with an eye forming. So do not be surprised if in 12 to 18 hours this thing is ramping right back up, because it's going to be away from the major land masses. The wind shear should relax when it gets up into here, and the waters will be very warm, 86, 87 degrees Fahrenheit. These are the ingredients that we've seen strengthening from many storms in the past, such as Dorian, such as Michael, Matthew, Andrew. A lot of these have gone to town in this area. And Michael, of course, was in the Eastern Gulf, but a lot of evidence points to this thing being in a spot where it can strengthen. Here is the radar from the Bahamas. Let me zoom in for you here And you can see now that an eye is forming and a pretty good eye wall getting going. And I know it's a little bit kind of jumpy here. But the nearest island right now is Crooked Island up in here. And this storm is going to be tracking kind of west of the main archipelago of the Bahamas, but it does look like it's eventually going to be more of a threat to Andros Island. And let me zoom out and show you a couple more islands. Nassau could actually, the Atlantis Resort and that area could actually take perhaps a direct hit from this storm. And maybe even Grand Bahama Island like Freeport, which is still in shambles from last year's Dorian. So this is really what we don't want to see in the Bahamas, but unfortunately I think what's lining up. What I'm going to do is show you our latest tropical and dynamical model guidance, and very tightly clustered over the next 24 hours. And then what we see is more of a spread in the model guidance, which does not surprise me. We are seeing by, looks like Sunday morning, that the system could be centered very near the Florida coast. A couple of models are even a little farther west than that. Or it could be starting to make that turn well to the east of Florida. So a 100-mile difference between these solutions, but a very big potential outcome coming from that difference. I will tell you that this the mean track takes it right over the warm waters of the Gulf Stream and puts it in a favorable spot to perhaps intensify. But there will be some wind shear as well, so it's going to be kind of some things on the good side and some things on the bad side for that to happen. The intensity model guidance does indicate that as well. Half the models show this becoming a hurricane east of Florida. The other half are weakening it into a tropical storm near the Florida coast. Tough to say which is going to be right, but we've kind of seen overall the general consensus that the models do keep it just off the coast, and that kind of makes sense if you look at climatology. So we are sticking our neck out and saying that hurricane is much more likely than tropical storm by the time this could impact us in the Carolinas. That could change. And you know what? Honestly, we could see something up in here from our models in a couple days. We just have to see what's going to happen. The global ensemble forecast system, though, did shift westward, but still several of those solutions stay off the coast until we get to the Carolinas. A few, though, are much weaker and just don't bring the trough in fast enough. And, you know, that's still something we could see happening. I will tell you as well, this ensemble is already starting off too weak with this system. So keep that as well. The pressure is already 10 millibars lower than what the mean is showing. And you can kind of see that on our surface plot here. This 1009 millibars is what it's thinking it is, and this is well away from the center. So keep that in mind. And I will show you this data as well. And it may not make a ton of sense to you guys, but this is what the Hurricane Hunter aircraft is actually measuring. It's out there flying, and it's done 1, 2, 3, 4 loops through the center of the storm, and it's seeing that the pressure is starting to drop again, which is a sign of some strengthening. And upon its last pass in the outer bands, we're seeing hurricane force winds at flight level. So this thing is definitely a hurricane. The big question is, where does the center end up going? You can see it's actually bent a little bit to the right. So all the models that were showing it not doing that are already wrong right out of the gate. And that makes me, of course, be a little bit more concerned for South Carolina and especially North Carolina than maybe what some of those models were showing. You know, the GFS model, here we go with tropical tidbits again. I'll tell you what, I may not be able to show you all of these just because of the slowness of the model, but I will show you the GFS here from our latest model run. Let me back that up for you guys. Oh my goodness. All right. The internet is slow. Well, let me show you the high-end extreme, then we'll go back to that. This is the UK Met model. This is like the absolute very worst possibility, and that's a Category 3 hurricane coming up east of Cape Fear towards maybe Emerald Isle or Morehead City, Jacksonville, Little River, that area. That's the absolute worst, and this would be early in the morning on Tuesday. This is actually 2 in the morning Tuesday, so landfall would be sometime on Tuesday morning. Now that's indicating a slower path and more time to organize and strengthen. I've seen it on the other end where the GFS is a faster track, actually right towards basically the Carolina border, right on the Grand Strand here to Monday afternoon. And I've seen even with the parallel GFS from earlier, and let me get that loaded again. All right, it's not happening. Sorry, y'all. But anyway, what we're seeing is anywhere from perhaps an impact Saturday afternoon and night on the Florida coast, and then a second perhaps bigger impact coming anywhere from Monday to Tuesday morning over the Carolinas. But again, let me show you the window right here where this bend occurs, and this model shows it coming back to the west. So forget the pink, it's already wrong, but the orange is about as far west as it goes, and there's really no model that shows us avoiding the Carolinas. What I am going to show you real quick here was the GFS from earlier showing some very heavy rain coming through along and east of the track. This is some 7, 8, 9-inch totals across the inner banks and across parts of maybe the Pamlico Sound and places like New Bern, where the heavy rain was a problem during Florence, but kind of escapes narrowly, producing heavy rain in Myrtle Beach and Wilmington, and of course Raleigh and Fayetteville. However, if we move to the next model run, the model jumped at 100 miles west, and now we've got 5 inches at Myrtle, 2 or 3 around Wilmington, maybe 6 or 7 in like Greenville, Wilson, Rocky Mount. So a jump of 100 miles makes a massive difference in our rainfall totals. Same goes for Florida, some higher amounts maybe in Fort Pierce and Stewart. Let's go over to the 12Z real quick. I'll show you that. And we found a kind of a little bit of middle ground here, but some pretty impressive rainfall totals. I guess our bright side of this is that it's moving a lot faster by the time it gets up here. So that's just something to keep in mind. And let me show you some geography here. This is Bald Head Island, Oak Island. Right now the model guidance takes everything pretty much right over this area, but again, we could see it more towards Emerald Isle, Cape Lookout, and Ocracoke, unfortunately, right up here. We could see it avoiding these and going farther east and hitting Hatteras, or farther west and hitting Myrtle, with all the bad weather, of course, affecting the southern coast of North Carolina and, of course, the Outer Banks as well. So there is quite a bit here that we have to keep our eyes on. I'm just going to continue to post the latest, but please check us out at Carolina WX Authority, and please, now is the time to start preparing for perhaps a Category 2 hurricane. And that's the average, what we think it'll be. I could see how it's possibly higher or even lower. And, of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll keep you posted on the latest, of course, with more videos over the weekend and into early next week. All right, take care, y'all. Have a great weekend.